Okay, this is CSC 240. No, excuse me, CIS 240 database class, and this is for September the 30th. The material this week is not too bad after what we've already been through. Uh, we're going to do a review tonight to start off with, and then after the review, we'll take a look at really superclass, subclass, and that's about the only thing I believe that you'll need any kind of discussion on. So let's start off with our review. And so to begin this, I went to Google and uh, just Googled some information, went and found some pictures and stuff, and we're going to take a look at those. So share that screen. And it's the one that looks like that. Okay. Now then, that should be coming your way. Hopefully you can get yours large enough to read what's going on there. Okay. Now then, I'm checking to make sure nobody's shown up late to be let in, and they have not. All right, so let's just kind of go through this little chart here. And this is just things we have been shown already. There'll be a little bit of extra in here, such as the identifying relationships and multi-value attributes. I think we've looked at those, but anyway, Chen's notation. That's entity and that's attribute. A weak entity, which is kind of fun. And that's how you show the key field, okay? Relationships are with diamonds. The dotted line is a derived attribute, and we'll see that in a little bit. Multi-value attribute, we've looked at those. Now then, the how many on each side. So this one says there will be 0 to 1. And this one says 1 to, you got to have it, okay, even though that says 0. Then we have our 1 to 1. We have 0 to many. We have 1 to many. That's another 0 to many. They use either N or M on this. And 1 to many. And then they've got optional is dotted lines. There's something about it when you see a dotted line on it. Okay, and those are pretty much, we can get the context just from looking at the ERD. The crow's foot notation, this is the one where if you haven't looked at it since last week, you will probably not remember for sure. So we'll go through here and take a look. This is many on this side, and this is 1 exactly 1, or as the book puts it, 1 and only 1 on this end. 0 to many, exactly 1. 1 to many, 0 or 1. And on this one, 0 to many and 0 to 1 over here. Okay, we also can have many to many. That's these. Anytime you see the little circle on that line with the crowfoot by it, that is 0 to many. Okay, this is 1 to many and 0 to many over here, 1 to many on that side. Let's see, 1 and only 1 on this, and 0 or more, 1 or more, 1 and only 1, 0 or 1. That's just going through and trying to pull this back into mind, give you a little bit of a refresher on it. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go take a look. And let's look at 1. This is close to what we're doing, but let's go through and read it. And reading these things really helps a lot in trying to understand it. Okay, so the university employs 1 to many instructors. Okay, an instructor is employed by 1 and only 1 university. And that should say full time, because any adjuncts, they can work as many colleges as they want. Okay, let's see, from a university to a class, university offers 1 to many classes. Pick a class, any class, and it's at 1 and only 1 university. Pick a class, it is taught by 1 and only 1 instructor, and I've mentioned this in weeks past that we use a slightly different method. Pick an instructor, and that instructor teaches 1 to many classes. Pick a student attends 1 to many classes. Pick a class, it is attended by Unfortunately, 0 to many students. All right, a student enrolls in one and only one university, and not necessarily true, but for what we're doing, we'll live with it. University has enrolled in it one too many students. And let's see, class has one in exactly one classroom. A classroom has 0 too many classes. A classroom has 0 too many chairs. A chair, pick a chair, any chair, and it's exactly one classroom. A student uses exactly one chair. One chair is used by exactly one student at a time. Okay, student has either no social security number or one social security number. Pick a social security number. It is associated with exactly one student in this case. And between these two, well, no, that's not one of these where this belongs to the association. This is a separate association. And a student has one and exactly one, or one and only one student ID. Student ID associates with one and only one student. Okay, so that's reading through this particular ERD. And this is one of the things you should be able to do when you walk out of this class, is if you see one of these charts, you should be able to look at it and make sense out of it. Creating a chart, that takes practice. Okay, so that's something the class will not give you enough of, but it does get you a good start on it. Then if you ever have to develop this on your own, it starts to make sense after a while. All right, so that's one ERD. This is crow's foot symbols, just a quick reference. And they've got these listed down here as well. Again, the review on that: one, many, one and only one, 0 or one or many, 0 or many. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. Again, the purpose of this is to try to get you comfortable with ERDs. When you see one, it doesn't throw you off. You can look at it, make sense out of it. Now, this one is in the Chan notation. Okay, here is our entity. It's a user, and the fields within the user are coach ID, user ID, and since it's underlined, that is the key field, name. And from this information, you can derive, this is a derived thing, the habit number. Now, this is kind of fun. What's the habit that they're talking about? I'll let you look at that and see what your opinion is on that. But pick a user, any one user, and that user has 0 to many habits. Pick a habit, any particular habit, and it is held by, used by, user has that. A habit can be held by multiple users. Now notice this isn't 0 to many, doesn't have a 1 on it, doesn't have either. Okay, all right. The habit has a habit name and a habit ID. That is your key field on this. A habit is associated with 0 to many check-ins. Pick a check-in and it's associated with one and only one habit. A check-in has a check-in date, a habit check-in ID, and that's the key field, a habit ID, a user ID. Check-in has 0 to many comments. The comment has the comment ID key field, comment text, comment date, user ID, coach ID, and habit check-in ID. Now then, a comment is written by, and on this one, can be both at the same time, can be each one individually. But a comment is written by one and only one coach and one and only one user. A user has 0 to many coaches. A coach has a name and a coach ID. A coach has 0 to many users. How are y'all doing with this?
I think it makes quite a bit of sense.
Okay. Justin, how about you? either scrambling wildly or watching TV. Aaron, how about you, man?
It's making sense to me, but I like the crow's foot notation a bit more, just personally.
It's my preferred as well. Travis? Travis there? Okay, so Justin and Travis have signed in and gone on about their way. Okay.
Sorry.
There you are. All right. Okay. Well, if you're being able to read these, that's my goal. Okay. You look at these, you can make sense out of it. Doesn't matter which format it's in. Okay, let's look at one more, and this is going to be in two separate formats, and we kind of need it to make sense. For one thing, did anybody ever figure out what habit is? I don't know either. Okay, going on to the next one. All right. Now there's a little tool called draw.io, and you can use it to make these things. Now, I did this afternoon, and I've got one I'll show you in a little bit. And let me tell you, this is not the right tool to use. All right, there's the stuff that it's showing us tonight is not included with Draw.io, at least not the version I've got. So just to let you know, you can do it. And that is a tool I've got on my desktop that I keep. But this is, you want to actually go out and pay some money to get a tool to help you with this stuff. All right, both of these are the same. We just went through the habit, okay? Notice the has a different shape to it, and it's a little bit more clear over here in the crowfoot notation. And it shows this actually belongs to the relationship. So this is letting us know that this relationship has more to it than just the fact this does that, or this has that. This relationship itself has information that belongs to it. Okay, so this is the same thing. I'm going to take a look at it in this format. And that one's big enough you can see, which I like. All right. This column, primary key, foreign key. Primary key, again, boldface, underlined. Okay, that's in this format. This little square is the entity. That is the name of the entity. Key field is designated, and then the other fields are listed. And like I said, I like this one a little bit better. Anyway, this is users, and users use or have habits. The habit has a name. The habit has a primary key, and we can read this the same way: one to many on this side, zero to many on that side, and this belongs to the relationship itself. Now, what happens is that you can use the user, and there is a habit number that goes with it. But if you look, if you have the user's name or the user ID, and you're just wanting to know what users have what habits, you could come to this little piece of information, and from it go directly request the user and go directly request the habit. So this is just one of those conveniences that the chapter has talked about. And how do you handle this? Well, how do I look this stuff up? How do I actually associate it like this? All right, habits to check-ins. So pick a habit. Any habit has zero to many check-ins. Not everybody has every habit. In the habit check-in, there is your primary key, foreign keys, and that's the only new information in it. But on a check-in, check-ins have comments. And the comments now have one primary key, three foreign keys in it, and a comment date and a comment text. So we're seeing the same information exactly as we saw before, just in a different layout. And this, I much prefer this layout than the other, but that's only because this kind of layout is familiar to me. This is getting you very close to the Unified Modeling Language. It's not, but it's looks similar to UML. And so as a result, I just like this one because it's familiar. Okay, so if I showed you one of these and asked questions about it, such as, may a user have more than one habit? Would that be yes or no?
Yes, they would.
Is a user required to have a habit?
No.
Okay, yeah, now you're getting the idea. Okay, and it's through the use of this syntax that we have learned over the last week or two that you're able to express those concepts. So this is just a way of writing down what's going on in your database. Database usually is close to the real world, but it has things the real world doesn't, and it may rearrange the associations inside the database to be a little bit different than what you see in the real world. It's all okay though. All right, that's the review that I wanted to do from last week. And again, you're seeing these, you're reading these, you're where you need to be. Okay, now, the new topic that's introduced this week that I want to spend a little bit of time with you is superclass and subclass. And it's kind of fun. I got to show you this. Just like I Googled to find all this stuff I have just showed you, I Googled superclass and subclass, and this is the first thing that happened. Can y'all see what it is?
Yeah, it's a sub.
There's you a subclass right there. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing for a little bit and we'll just talk here for a minute. The idea on this is that you're trying to get rid of repetitive data. And well, let me just start with a nice big example. Let's call it celestial bodies. Y'all know what I'm talking about just from that? Aaron, have I heard from you yet?
Yeah, are you talking about stars?
Yeah, you got it. Just the stuff out there. Okay. Anything that's out there, that's going to be a celestial body. Now, here are things that are common to all celestial bodies. If we've seen it and got close enough to looking at what it is, we've named it. And there is a naming convention for the official name of stars. And I'll let you look it up. That's beyond the scope of what we're doing in here, but just so long as you get the idea. Okay, besides a name, they will also have a type. What kind of types can you think of? What are the different types of celestial bodies?
Just like different types of stars?
Yeah.
Let's see. White dwarf is one.
White dwarf is one.
Red dwarf. The giant red stars.
Yeah.
There are a whole bunch of different ones.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different ones. But all of those that you just mentioned will have a name and they will have a type that has been defined by us here, here being Earth, okay? They'll also have a size that goes with it. They may have things like mass, and that's true of all celestial bodies, okay? So I could gather up all the thing that is common amongst planets and suns and moons and asteroids and whatever else you can think of that's out there, black holes, all of that, and try to say, if I say this about one, is it true about all of them? Are there any exceptions to that? And if there are no exceptions, then that's a commonality that you want to put into something called celestial body. Okay, now then, what about a planet orbiting a sun? Do all celestial bodies orbit a sun?
Yes and no.
Can you name any celestial body that doesn't orbit a sun?
Uh, Not necessarily, no.
Does an
But
asteroid count?
There you go. Asteroids don't necessarily orbit a sun. Some of them that are coming by that we're seeing, we may only see once in our lifetime, because after it gets through whipping around our sun and going someplace else, another sun may pick it up. Okay, so asteroid doesn't necessarily orbit a sun. Okay, does a moon orbit a sun?
It orbits a planet orbiting a sun usually.
Yeah, that's the way to think. And then we'd have to define, well, does that mean it orbits the sun or not? And for what I'm doing, let's just say no. Okay, but you could argue with that either way. So what that means then is I can't say that all celestial bodies orbit a sun. Okay, as a result, a celestial body that's orbiting a sun, well, I can't put the name of the sun up into celestial body, because depending upon the type of celestial body, it may not orbit a sun. So that means the sun that something is orbiting is not a global that belongs up at the very top in the superclass. So now then we would get down and let's take a look at, well, let's look at sun. What is there about a sun that's not true about all celestial bodies? Y'all didn't know this was going to be an astronomy exam, did you? Okay, what is true about a sun that's not true about all celestial bodies?
Not all celestial bodies are a bunch of plasma that's just loosely hanging together.
You got it. Okay, so that is a distinction that makes a sun different from other celestial bodies. And then we could go ahead and play with this for quite a while and come up with other things about the sun that makes it different from other celestial bodies. Well, then all that information belongs in the object type sun. So the way that I'm going to ask this, is a sun a celestial body? I'm going to state it positively. A sun is a celestial body. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Yes. So that means that I can say, okay, celestial body is going to be a superclass to the sun, which is now a subclass. And everything that's true about the superclass, the sun just gets automatically, because it is a celestial body. Then we move on to planet. What is there about a planet that makes it different from other things? And we just lost one of the planets. Is it Pluto? No, it's not Pluto. What did we lose? What was the 9th planet? And they've declared it's doesn't meet the definition anymore.
yeah, it's Pluto.
Pluto? Okay. Yeah. That raised quite a furor in amongst that particular community about that. Anyway, so there are things about a planet that makes it a planet. Part of it is that it circles or revolves around the sun. Part of it is its size. It can only get so small and still be a planet. Okay, so we've got that. Now then, moon. What's different about a moon than the sun or a planet? Well, a moon orbits a particular planet. If that same body is just out in space somewhere, then it's not a moon, it's just a space rock running around. Okay, so I'm going to say it this way again, and you tell me true or false. A moon is a celestial body.
True.
Yeah. And this is the measuring stick that you use to decide whether or not you have declared something that is a subclass of a superclass. Look at the subclass like planet and say, planet is a celestial body. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's look at one more thing out in space. Humans. Okay, we have size, we have type, we have mass, and that was the only requirements we really put on a celestial body. Okay, so now then you ask the question, or I'll state it positively and you ask if it's true or false. A human is a celestial body. I'll get a drink while you think on that one. Okay, what are you thinking? Travis, have I heard from you yet? Travis? Travis.
Hello.
There, I see the mic come on. I'm not hearing anything from you though, Travis.
What was the question?
True or false? A human is a celestial body.
True. I don't know.
That's a good answer on this one, actually. The reason that we don't know how to answer that is we haven't defined what is the environment that we're interested in. If you're not careful in setting up subclasses to classes, it might appear true on the surface, but then before it's all over with, our code may be placing humans out in the middle of space circling the sun somewhere. Okay? And that would make absolutely no sense. So you kind of have to use some common sense when you're deciding, is this truly a subclass of a superclass? So that's one look at it. And like I said, we started real big. Now then, let's come down to something a little bit smaller. We're going to have an entity called a keyboard. Okay. Things that you can say about a keyboard, how many keys it has, because different keyboards have different numbers of keys depending upon whether or not they're a full-size keyboard or a smaller one. Whether or not they're ergonomic. They have a color. Okay. Now then, that would be our superclass for keyboards. Now, here's a couple of things that won't be true of every keyboard. Is every keyboard wired? And I mean connected to the computer via a wire.
False.
Yeah. All right. So we have some that are wired, some that are wireless. Now, depending upon how much else we want to put with the fact that it's wired or wireless, it could just be a field in a keyboard. You know, what kind is it, wired or wireless, and you can put that in. But we might have other things such as if it's wireless, how long is the cord? What type of connection is at the end of the cord? If that's for wired, okay. For wireless, we would need to know, okay, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, mostly Bluetooth nowadays, but that's always been an option. And if it's Wi-Fi, there's different speeds that it can be connecting at. And that's something that people find out the hard way may slow their entire internet in the house down. Depending upon how it's set up, it may slow its speed to the slowest device that's attached to it. And so if you have a really slow wireless device attached to it, it can slow down the entire internet speed in the house. Okay, so anyway, we have wired, we have wireless. Well, let me say it the other way around. A wired keyboard is a keyboard. Yeah, that makes sense. That's true. A wireless keyboard is a keyboard. That makes sense. That's true. Okay. So that's just some thought exercises for that. I want to show you this is the one I did earlier today with Draw.io, and you'll see in a second, it's not the one to use, but I used it. Okay, so let me share that screen. This one, I believe. And this one may be a little bit harder to read because it's kind of small. Okay, let's see if I do this. Nope, okay, that's as far as it's going to let me go. Okay, so let's just start at the top. Person. Okay, primary key, I'm using the exact same format, and Draw.io does have that. So you can just click it and it drops one, and then you move it around where you want it and you name it what you want it, or delete it and get rid of it. Okay. This is the syntax that's introduced in this chapter. Okay. That we have a person. Oh, let me rename that. That should be person. Okay. So this entity is called person. The primary key is the person ID, and I just pick some fields, a name and a birthday, and then I have a specialization type. And the specialization type is just a field, and based on that field, you will go down to subclasses, such as healthcare was a specialization, and ED for education is a specialization. But you'll notice as big as everything is being drawn in the background, if you can see the background on this, that's about an 8.5 by 11. Well, you run out of room real quick using tools that draw that big. All right, but anyway, this says that they're disjoint. There's a D in there. Okay, and that means that they really don't share anything in common. Okay, so if you go healthcare, then you're going to have a specialization ID. You're going to have a name, a description, permission. Okay, and this is the name of the healthcare specialization, not the name of the person. Okay. Another way to look at this is we are describing roles that humans can play in real life. All right, so for healthcare, well, based on the name, we have subfields, subclasses, and they are disjoint, which means they share nothing in common, okay? And the way you determine which one you're going to is by the name field, and the name of the specialization could be DE, which is going to be a short, or the name of the dentist specialization. And we have dental, dentist ID, and this identifies a particular dentist. And here's the name of the school the dentist went to. Here's the business name the dentist works under, and whatever else you want to put. And it's not usually just 1, 2, or 3. There may be 10, 15 fields in this, okay? PCP, primary care physician, pediatrics, and cardiologist. Now, what I'm looking at down here is, does every specialization require a school? And you start to say yes, but then I've got a little question that I wrote in here. Where would an anesthesiologist or a phlebotomist or a nurse or a nurse's aide go? Well, they're not really on this same particular level. So to put them there, maybe yes, maybe no. Okay. But I'm looking here and I see for all of these I have listed here, there is a school. Okay. That tells me either school belongs up here in the super class, because that's the whole idea of a super class. You find things all of the subclasses have in common, and instead of putting it again and again and again, you can put it one time up here in the healthcare part. Okay, so now we've got doctors essentially. Okay, now anesthesiologists, I can't remember whether they're required to be an MD or not. Does anybody know?
Yes, my sister's trying to become a child psychologist. So
Okay, then that would belong, anesthesiologist would belong up here with the others. Okay, phlebotomist, no, they don't have to be a doctor. Those are the people that draw blood, by the way. Nurse, well, they do also require school. They won't be working with the business name, and not everybody, come to think of it, works with the business name. So school looks to be a good candidate to pull up here and put in healthcare because it's showing up in everything we put here. Would it be true that for a nurse to get their nursing degree or a nurse's aide to get their certificate, they had to go to school somewhere? Yeah, so school's going to be true for them. What about a massage therapist? Yes, they have to go to school and they have to be certified. So they would also go to school. Occupational rehabilitation, that somebody falls at work, hurts their knee or whatever, and they're trying to get all the way back to a full range of motion, everything on whatever got hurt. Yeah, they're going to have to go to school as well. So it does appear that school would belong up here in healthcare. And just because a pediatric person is a subclass of healthcare, then that person automatically gets a name, a description. Well, they get, yeah, everything that's up here, name, description, permission. Permission is whether they have to have a license of any kind. Okay. And now then we put up here also, they had to go to school to get qualified, whatever the qualification is. So school should actually show up here. I wonder if this will let me put a new one in. Try and see. It's not going to like it. I just put it anywhere I can get it to fit for right now. I'd figure it out later on this. What did we say, school? Okay, and that means on all of these then I come down in here and take out school. And again, this is the idea of superclass, subclass. Okay, it's up here now. Oh, my little line kind of got messed up when I did all that. That's why I'm saying don't use this as your primary tool. Anyway, so we have that. Now then we'd look at business name and go through and do the same kind of decisions on this. This is superclass and subclass. If a dentist is a healthcare specialist, well, then they have a name, they have a description, they have whatever type of permission they're required to have, and whatever school they went to. And so if I list dentist now, all the fields that are in dentist are name, description, permission, school, and business name. The dentist gets all of that for free just because that's what they belong to. All right, now here's what I want you to try and think about, and I'm going to give us a few minutes here and then we'll come back and talk about this, okay? What I want you to do is try to break down education is a special type of role that a person can play in society. So I want you to take education now and see how you would break it down underneath this. And I didn't do it here simply because I ran out of room. These are not my favorite tools to express ideas, but that's kind of what we got to work with. Okay, so take a couple of minutes. Education. What would break down under education that well, see if you can figure it out. That's the whole idea. I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then I'll come back and get questions from you. Okay, let's see what y'all came up with. What did you think went under education?
Well, for me, what I thought was maybe like a degree or a pathway for somebody to choose.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me a little more.
Well, I was sort of like trying to compare it to like the other way that the healthcare was set up and like the jobs that are offered under there, like and I was thinking, what does an education offer to people to choose from?
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, people can choose their own degree or choose what they want to pursue. So that's sort of how I came up with those. But
Yeah, that's a valid way to break that down. As long as you can say what's the environment in which you were thinking and does it make sense in that environment, that's an acceptable solution. Let's see. Dylan, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
What'd you come up with?
For education wise,
Yeah.
so I thought of like how a university does their programs. Like if you look up their degree programs and how they level it, right? It's like either you do majors or do minors,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
certifications.
Yeah. And I'm with you on what you're saying. Again, when you tell me what you did and tell me what you were thinking, that lets me know the environment you saw in your mind. And does your answer make sense to that? Yes, it does. Let's see. Travis, have I picked on you yet? Whether or not I have, let's try again.
Yeah, you have. But I thought of it in a similar way of basically what departments do they have, and then narrowed it down from there as far as what majors were offered in those fields. But I scheduled out like, what am I trying to say? Gen Ed, science,
Mm-hmm.
what the different major fields.
Yeah. And then you could have majors as a super class and all the different majors you could have as a sub.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see. Justin, I know. Aaron, what about you?
I kind of broke it up a little bit differently, where I did it by like the different levels of degrees, with like certificates, then associates, then a bachelor's, then a master's, and then like graduate school afterwards.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I think I've called everybody except Justin. Justin, go ahead.
Oh, there we go. I broke it up like Dylan and Travis, so majors and
Okay.
departments. So
Okay. Thank you. All right. Then just a rhetorical question, which means don't really expect an answer. You getting a feel for what we're talking about. And this really is just trying to get a feel for it. Okay, let me share one other thing with you here. And let's take a look again. Okay, now, unfortunately, the background on my screen is black. And that'll catch us here in a minute. But anyway, in the meantime, here's just a very simple real world one. Sandwich. Well, there's cold sandwich, hot sandwich, and frozen. And when I first saw that, I was thinking, yeah, you could freeze it, but then you got to thaw it out, and that's either then going to be hot or cold. And then I looked underneath it. No, there are ice cream sandwiches as well. And then I got hungry for ice cream. Anyway, so ham and cheese, tuna, those are cold. Philly paninis, those are hot sandwiches. And this is just, you can see that a hot sandwich is a sandwich. And a Philly is a hot sandwich, a panini is a hot sandwich. Okay. So just the general concept is what I'm after. Let me change. Now this one, the black background hurts. You can't see the lines. Okay. But a bike is a vehicle. And a pedal bike is a bike, a trike, and then whether or not it is motorized on a bike, is a trike a bike? Well, compared to a car, It's closer to a bike than it is a car. But that one, just for the simple reason, a trike implies 3 wheels, a bike implies 2 and only 2 wheels. So I'm not sure about that one. Again, you can't see the lines. I've got one more where we can't really see the lines, but I think you can make it out okay. General classification is bird. Is a duck a bird? Yeah, a duck is a bird. Is a cuckoo a bird? Yeah, a cuckoo is a bird. Ostrich is a bird. Okay. Crocodile, not a bird. Okay. If you can see how these are true and see all the different things that we could put into the bird classification here, name, colors, there's a whole bunch of other stuff you could put in there. That's all we're trying to get across with superclass and subclass. All right. Any questions on this?
This is basically inheritance, correct?
That is correct. Okay. And we give bird all of these characteristics, and then a duck gets all those for free just because the duck inherits from whatever was true about bird. And that's why you want to stop and ask before you add something to this, is it true to say whatever is a bird? Well, if it's not true, if you can think of things that are wrong with that, then they belong someplace else, not here. So yes, this is the concept of inheritance as well. Okay, what other questions might you have? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording at this point.